Good day, everyone, and welcome back. This is Majia H, and today we'll be taking a look at lesson 10, which is a practice test for everything that we have covered from the beginning of our lesson up to today. So, today's lesson will be testing your knowledge to see if you have managed to grab all the concept and understand all the concept that we have covered so far. This also including the application of the theoretical knowledge that I've been teaching you guys over the past lessons. So please make sure that you use your financial calculator, scientific calculator, to assist you to write this practice test. And once you are done, please make sure that you view the recording to see if you manage to score all the marks, and if not, then repractice until you manage to score 95% and above. This will guarantee you or will allow you to be able to score more marks on your final assessment. So let's take a look at the practice test. So the practice test is based on chapter 2, lesson 10 is a practice lesson which will cover page 60 to 114, which means we're going to be covering from page 60 to 114, including some of the basic concepts that we covered before this unit. So the first question that you need to make sure that you have or you have answered them correctly before us taking this assessment on is, did you manage to attend all your classes? Because everything that we've covered from all the lessons will be tested within this practice test. Meaning that if you haven't attended all the classes, make sure you go and review some of the topics that were covered. If you do understand the concept, therefore it's okay for you to come here and continue with the second question. Have you completed and reviewed all the textbook activities? If the answer is yes, then you are sorted, meaning that you can actually try to attempt this practice test question. But if your answer is no to both or one of these questions, please make sure that you go back and revise and learn the concept and practice as well through the textbook activities. So when you practice, do not just practice, make sure that you are applying what we call perfect practicing. So perfect practice will make perfect. If you just practice, practice won't make it perfect, except perfect practice will make it perfect, where you get to go back, learn the concept, understand the concept, apply the concept through the practical activities that are on the book. Make sure you understand the application that is being done. If not, reach out. I will be able to assist you. And then if there's no need for you to reach out, which means that you understand the concept, try this activity or this test as a mock test. And then if you manage to score 95%, it means that you are actually good, and therefore you have managed to understand the concept and its application. Therefore, the only thing that is left for you is for us to test you on your formative assessment first, to see if you did indeed manage to grab and you didn't actually get assistance from your book. So I will advise that before we go towards the solution that I'm going to do with you on this lesson, make sure that you have already covered everything, write down everything, try the test on your own before you view this recording as part of solution. And then from there, mark yourself up based on this recording so that you can actually get to assess whether you manage to grab the concept or not, and try to see where you manage to fail. And there might be a different way of actually getting to the final answer, which you might use a different way to get the final answer. But as long as the answer that you got it the right way, following a right principle, even though it's not exactly the same as mine, but you didn't miss the principle and the application rules. So therefore you will still be able to, or you will still be get your marks for that. So it means that you fully understand the concept. So not everything that I'm going to say them the way I'm going to say them here, it's supposed to be how you're supposed to answer the question, but you can still use the basic mathematics skills that you actually learn or that you're already aware of to answer the question. And then as long as you manage to get the right answer the right way, not the wrong way. If you get it the wrong way, which means that you didn't understand the concept, there are wrong ways that you can still apply and get the answer. So that is still the wrong way because you didn't manage to do it the right way. So that will be marked wrong. So you have to mark it wrong and apply the right way. The right way is when you still apply the mathematic rules that we have learned so far. But even though you're applying them through a simplified vision or a long vision that you already have that you do understand better. So as long as you apply those mathematic rules within your application, then you are 100% correct. But if you apply an incorrect mathematical rule, that leads you to a final answer. It's incorrect because the principle that was used there will be totally incorrect. So that's why I'm saying perfect practice makes perfect. Make sure you understand the concept 100%. Make sure that you try the textbook activity and understand the application 100%, and then combine your theory and application and use it towards this test. And therefore, if you manage to score everything the same way I mentioned, therefore, I will guarantee you a pass within this subject. So let's go and take a look at the activity. So this practice test is out of 50 marks, similar to what I did brief you guys in terms of your summative assessment. So take a look in terms of the briefing and see what type of test part is this testing you on, and some of the testing part might also include the financial statement, understanding financial statement, as well as completing your income statement. So as long as you understand all of those concepts, you'll be able to grab all of these 50 marks. And everything that we also covered in lesson 9 will also play an important role within this test. So make sure that you covered everything from lesson 1 to lesson 5 just for this concept, for this test, so that all the concepts that are going to be tested here will be from those lessons. So the first question, it's having 10 marks. It says that given the following information, which is the trial balance of a media enterprise at close of business 1 May 2010, 20.10. You have got the following trial balance. You have got your debit and credit on your trial balance, and I've already indicated what the debit side represent only shows in your credit in your trial balance, and what your debit side already showed in your trial balance. So these are explained during some of the lesson. You can go and watch some of the recordings. I believe those are between lesson 5 and 6, between lesson 4 and 6, where I was explaining all of this. So make sure that you go and revise those, you understand them, and then you come and write the assessment. If you haven't revised any of those, this is where you get to become lost if you don't understand the concept. So the first question says, based on the trial balance, identify and provide the total amount for the following element in the trial balance, 10 marks, income statement. So before I answer this question, I'm going to give you answers to the question, but without calculations or adding. So based on the trial balance, previously explained that your credit side of the trial balance, I'll start with the credit side. It represents all your equity, your liabilities, as well as your income. And then all your debit side, from your debit side, it represents all your expenses, your assets, and your drawings. So meaning that, and at the end, your debit and credit on your trial balance should always balance. So meaning that if we were to identify all of these total balance for each and every that is here, therefore it will be much easier for you to actually get to identify them before you even start doing the calculation. First one, income. Income are all money that went in the business through through services rendering, selling of goods, and selling of properties. So all of these will actually generate income to the business. So income does not only refer to sales, but all money that the business generates through either selling something or rendering their service. So income for this activity will actually be sales. If we take a look down there, we'll take a look at everything that is on the credit side, and then we'll start with capital. It doesn't fall within income. Trade payables, it doesn't fall within income. Sales, yes, it does fall within income. And then we don't have anything else except the balance. So this means that on our income we only have sales as 120,000. Expenditure, Expenditures refer to all the expenses that were incurred by the company trying to generate revenue. It's the same as the word expense and expenditure are of the same. These are all the money that we spend while trying to generate revenue, which is income. So meaning that if the item does not help us generate revenue and it's sort of like money going out, we're spending money but it does not help us. So therefore that does not count as an expenditure. I will make an example so that I can already give you an indication. Drawings. Drawings were not spending money to generate income. The owner is just taking money from the business because there is already enough money which the business have generated. So he's taking money out to share as part of his share of profit and to use it as any way he likes. So meaning that under drawings, we're saying that the owner, the company made money, the owner didn't get to take that profit yet during the time the company made money. But somewhere during the year, the following year, the owner decides that he requires money and he doesn't have one. So he's gonna go and take the profit that was already generated by the business on the previous year and use it. So we could refer that as drawings. So he's taking his share of profit from the business itself. So in terms of expenditure based on our activity, we're gonna go to our trial balance. And when our trial balance, we're gonna take a look at everything on the debit side, which is represent the assets, the expense, and the drawings. So we're gonna skip drawings because already drawings falls within the equity side because that's where the owner gets to withdraw some of his share of profit, which is gonna reduce the company's value or the company's profitability or worth because it's taking some money out of the business. And then we have got equipment. Equipment is an asset, bank it's an asset, trade receivable assets, trade inventory assets. Cost of sales, yes, it's an expenditure. We incurred cost of sales as part of generating income. Rent and expense, we also incurred it as part of generating income. Wage and salaries, we also incurred it in part of generating income. So therefore, we've got three types of expenditure within this activity. So some of these uh, expenditures, for you to be able to identify them quickly, try to look at your trial balance. Is your trial balance drawn or represented based on the balance sheet account then followed by the nominal account? If that's the case, and you notice that from the beginning up until before sales, everything that is there is from the balance sheet account. So it means that if you are looking for income, you're gonna look starting from sales going downwards. And if you are looking for expenses, you're gonna start looking from sales going downwards because everything that is there represent what? The nominal account. And nominal account only shows our income and expenditures. So therefore, we're gonna be able to identify them from there. But if your trial balance is mixed up, where you find your sales up there followed by a bank, it means that your trial balance is not organized. That means that you cannot use that method. So you can only use the method when your trial balance is fully organized. Let's take a look in terms of expenditure. We identify cost of sales, rent expense, and wages. So when you add all of these up to say 80,000 plus 37, so that's gonna be 150. That's gonna be 117,500. Then you add your 15,000. Then you're gonna get your 130. 32,500. So let's just quickly confirm that. So this will be 80,000 plus 37,500 plus 15,000. So that's 132 and 132,500 rand. So this is the total expenditure. When it comes to current assets, you are aware that current assets are also found within the debit side. So you can also take a look on the debit side of this statement and find your current assets. So your current assets will be those assets that will be converted into cash within a year. We already have got bank as one of them, so it's already showing you cash, and then you have to look for others. So we've already identified these. You are already aware of classification of account and types of accounts that fall within current assets based on our lesson that we learned previously on lesson 3 and 4. So you're gonna point them out. On the debit side, we've got bank, trade receivable, and trade inventory. So those are our current assets. So therefore it's 30,000 plus 45,000, giving us 75,000, plus 12,000, that's going to give us 87,500. So that will be the total current assets. So it's going to give us the following figure. So I'm going to write that down as well, all of them, so that you can get to grab them and compare to your final figure. So that will be 12,500 plus 45,000 plus 30,000. So in total, we've got 87,500 for our current assets. So non-current assets refer to our long-term assets that are being held for longer period as part of also generating revenue, but for a longer period. So in terms of looking under our statement or our trial balance, we can only identify equipment as part of our non-current assets, because we're going to be holding this equipment for a longer period and be using it to generate revenue over time. So therefore that's classified as a non-current asset. So therefore it will be 50,000. And then current liabilities. So current liabilities are all the credit that the business have made over a period of short term, over a period of 12 months, in a minimum period of 12 months, and they will have to be paid within that same period of 12 months. So normally if we take a look here, we only have got trade payables. These are our short-term creditors, where we buy our goods or inventory on credit. So we currently owe them 50,000, which means it's sitting on the credit side. So therefore our current liabilities, will get to look at them on the credit side, which is where the liability will be on our trial balance. So under this activity, we only get to have 50,000. So therefore that will be our current liabilities. And then the second part will be write the following numbers down in English. For example, make sure you write them in the following way: 2,326. So if you were to write that down, 2,326. So this is how it will represent as a number. So you are converting this number back to words. So like the one written here, 2,326. So for you to be able to identify the value of the number, if the numbers are written like this, they become a bit challenge to actually get to identify them, to say how much is this amount in value. Then you can be able to say it out loud and write it in words. So the best option for you to do that is to actually get to space all the values based on the thousands, to say that, and then you can calculate the place value for each, and then that will allow you to be able to read the amount in piece, and then also be able to transfer the numbers into words. So we're gonna split this in values of thousands, so which is 3 digits, 3 digits, and 3 digits. Then from there we're gonna try to calculate what we call the place value. We're gonna look at the place value. We've got the ones, we've got the tens, we've got the hundreds, we've got the thousand, we've got the 10,000, we've got the 100,000, we've got the million, we've got the 10th million, we've got the 100 millions. Therefore we've got the billion. So therefore the value that we're given is actually in billions. So this is where place value comes into place. Then when you read this out, because you're already aware of the place value, you do not use this word until you said the last number, which is going to be representing all the numbers that are remaining. For example, these two numbers are different. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same on this before we attempt the first one. So I've got the value settings like this. So if you can tell this one from this value here, which is within the thousands, the 100,000, there is no other value behind it. So meaning that when we mention this value, we're gonna therefore use and before that value. But on this one, we're gonna only use and when we mention the last value, which is 4. So you only use and when you're mentioning the last value within the amount that you are given. So let's start with this one. We already identified that it's in billions. So this will be 400 million 300 sorry about that. So it will be 2 million it will be 2,435,000,000 and 800,000. So this is how you will read the amount: 2,435, so 2,435,000,000 and 800,000. So 800,000, we are saying it because it's the solution and because this is the last number within the amount. So therefore you're gonna be having 2 billion 400 2,435 2,435 435 400. Okay, there is a word and in between: 435 million and 800. Okay, mine is going that far, so it's 2,435,000,000 and 800,000. So that's how you get to read the amount. And then when you get to the bottom one, you're gonna count again. Okay, our values here, we already have got the 100,000. So this is the million, this is the 10th million. So this is 60. So already we know that this is in the 10th. So this is 67,891,204. So that's how you get to explain this amount. Do not put "and" anywhere before you reach the final fee amount to say that this is 67,891,204. So that is the last figure that you do. And then here it says that round the following figure off to the nearest 10 million place value and write it in English. So you're still writing this in words, but after rounding it off. So to round off this, do the same thing from your right to left. Split the amount. So we're splitting the amount. So when we split the amount, it now gives us a nice idea to see the place value. So we know these are thousand, these are 100, these are thousands, these are million, these are billion. So if it's sitting like this, we are looking for 10 million place value. So a 10th million place value will be sitting at 46 million. So we are rounding off up from 46 million. So meaning that when we round off under this value, we're gonna say, okay, this is the value that is sitting on the 10th million. So therefore we look at the value before it, which is 6. So 6 is above 5, it's gonna change the 4 into 5. So meaning that the value will be 2,150 million. So this is the new value. So this value will be 2,150 2,150,000,000. So if you are going to write this in word, you're going to write 2 billion. So let me just write it with you guys so that you don't get to write the incorrect answer. So it will be 2 billion 100 100, because the 5 is the last number, that will be 100 and sorry about that, 50 million. So this is how you're gonna write it: 2,150,000,000, because the 5 will be the last digit that is there. That's when we put "and." But if the value of this amount was to be 2,100,000,000, So you are going to say 2,100,000,000. So you're gonna put n on the last digits, on the last value that is within there. And then on this one it says that the financial manager expects the rental expense to increase by 15% in the next reporting period. Calculate what the new rental expenditure amount will be. Rental expense 37,500. So rental expense is 37,500 is to increase by 15%. So if it's increasing by 15%, we need to calculate the increase by saying 37,500 multiplied by 15%. This will be equaling to, so we get to use your scientific calculator, 37,500, or you can use your mind if you're able to calculate and scratch out numbers, and then you get a specific figure. And therefore, so that will be the same as saying 15 multiplied by 375. And then you will get your final figure. So it's going to be 37,500 multiplied by 15. So that will be 5,625. So 5,625. So therefore the new rental expenditure will be equals to 37. So will be equal to 37,500 plus 5,625, which is going to be the equal to your new amount. So I'm just gonna say plus 37,500. So it will be 43,125. So that will be the new expenditure. So the quickest way to add a percentage all the time, it works all the time, it won't be a difficult thing for you to do. So if you were to add a percentage to calculate something while adding a percentage on that value, so this amount represents itself one time, and then you put a comma and say what percentage do I want to add on this amount. If you want to add 20%, you're gonna say 20, so that will be multiplied by 1.2. And if you want to add 15%, that is 1.5, meaning that this value will grow by 15%, 1,1515 representing 15%, which is in decimal. So this one represent the value itself, and the 1.5 represent the growth that is growing by. So this is only when there is growth, so you use 1 comma the growth rate, and therefore it will give you the total new amount that is within the with the growth rate included. So therefore we can just go and say 37,500 multiplied by 1,15. Therefore it's gonna give us 43,125. So this is another method you can actually apply on your scenario. But if it is decreasing, so I'm going to also show you, assuming that this is decreasing, since this represent 1, the 37,000 represent 1, and if this was a decrease of 15%, so if this represent 1 and there is a decrease of 15%, you're going to say 1 minus 0.1515 representing the percentage. So therefore the value that will be remaining after a decrease of 15% is 85. Then you're going to multiply this by 85 and get the new amount without you having to calculate 15% and subtract it from the amount. You just go and say 1 minus the percentage, that is the decrease. You're going to get the new remainder in terms of percentage, meaning that 85% will be the remaining percentage. Therefore you multiply the value with the remaining percentage and get its value, which is going to be after the decrease of 15%. But if it's an increase, the value of that item is 1, so you're just adding plus 0.15 representing 15%, so that would be 1,5. And then on this one it says which accounting element are necessary to calculate the gross profit for the month. So this question did not fully explain what type of information it requires. It says elements. So the elements in terms of the accounting, we've got income and expenses. So those are the ones that are used to calculate the gross profit. And under income and expenses, so we've got income and expenses. So those are the two elements that are used, but within these two elements we've got the following accounts that are also used. We've got the following accounts, which is sales and cost of sales. So these are the accounts and elements that are used within calculating the gross profit. So it asks you what are the accounting elements, so income and expense, and it says what are the gross profit, what gross profit was generated by the company. But to be specific, to calculate gross profit, we know that gross profit will be calculated based on sales minus cost of sales. So this is, I think it's part of lesson 5 and 6. Sorry, I think lesson 4 and 5, where we covered drafting income statement, and from lesson 4 to 6, which the activities are 1U and 1U, I think it's also one of them, and 1V, which is also part of the activities that if you perform, you'll be able to also get to learn, or if you reach that pages, you'll get to learn the way of calculating gross profit, which we also covered in class. That gross profit is your sales minus cost of sales, and this element falls within, these accounts fall within the elements of income and expenses. So the question, they use a different terminologies to actually get to trick you to see if you do understand the concept. And then we can move towards the second part of the practical test. So we've already done this one. So this one was testing you in terms of addition, subtraction, place values, rounding off, using percentage to calculate a new amount, which we also perform decimals. So we've applied mostly everything that we have covered so far under this activity. So let's get to see the next part of the question. So these are the next part of the question, which all of this part I'm going to be using Excel to try to do them with you, so that you get to see each and every calculation and how each and every calculation was done, because this one they require a full more explanation, because there is no picture or where you are grabbing information. The information that is actually presented here is the same information that you'll have to use to answer the questions that follow within that same question. So I'm gonna move to Excel, and from Excel we're gonna perform our calculations. So taking a look in terms of this under Excel, so which will make it much better for me to be able to write them and explain. So the first one says that an advertising companies hire a cameraman at 1,000 for 2-hour photo shoot. They also hire 5 models at 250 each for the same period, which is 2-hour photo shoot. Due to load shedding, they must end the session after 1 hour 20 minutes. So that is the scenario. So the scenario is the advertising company, hiring a photographer for 1,000 for 2 hours, and also hiring 5 models, each being paid 250 for the 2-hour photo shoot. And due to load shedding, they must end the session after 1 hour 20 minutes, which is before their agreed time of 2 hours, which they already paid the models and the cameraman for. So the first question says, calculate what the fraction of the session was completed and what fraction still needs to be completed based on the load shedding. So based on load shedding, so I'm gonna write this down as number 6. So what is actually happening here is that you are given information in hours and minutes. So it is up to you as a student to say that, do I want to convert the hours into minutes or the minutes into hours, so that I only work with hours, so that we can be able to compare the time that was used compare with the time that was available. So we're gonna go and say that time. So if we're using hours, so we're gonna have 2 hours that was prepared and then used. So available time, so it was 2 hours used. It is 1 hour 20 minutes. So if I have to convert 20 minutes into hour, that will be 20 divided by 60. So that will give me the number of hours. So 20 divided by 60 will equals to 20 divided by 60 will equal to 0.3333. So if I round this off to the nearest two decimal, that will be 0.33. So meaning that hours used is 1.33. So it's not 1.20. So hours used is not 1.20 because 1.20 will be a different number of hours and minutes. So 1.33 in hours. So all of these that we're seeing here, they are represented in hours. So we have converted the 20 minutes into hours, giving us 0.33, and we add it to the hour. Therefore, we've got 1 hour, 1.33 hours. So therefore, we can compare the two to say that calculate what fraction of session was completed and what fraction still needs to be completed. So we can actually perform a ratio to say that I'm gonna just swap these around and say hours. So I'm just gonna swap them around just to say that we used 1 hour, 133 hours, 1.33 hours, and instead of 2 hours. So therefore, in total, we actually had 2 hours. So therefore, the hours that was used. Well, then let's say unused first. So unused hours. So unused hours will be equals to hours available minus the hours used. So therefore unused hours is 0.67. So therefore if we were to write a fraction of the session of what was completed will be 1.33 over 2. So that will be the fraction for that. And what still needs to be completed will be 0.67 over 2. So that will be the fraction for that. So this is when you are using hours. So when you are using minutes, so this is for hours. So when you're using minutes, you're gonna convert each and every hour to minutes and then only use minutes to go and say that for 2 hours, so therefore we're gonna go and say for 2 hours that we have 2 hours converted to minutes, that's 2 multiplied by 60. For each and every hour there is 60 minutes, so therefore in totals of 2 hours we have got 120 minutes. And therefore we're gonna do for used we're gonna go and say that we have used 1 hour 20 minutes and an hour it's actually 60 minutes, so that is 60 minutes plus 20 minutes, so therefore we've used 80 minutes. And therefore the unused will be equals to 120 minus 40. So that will give us how much? This will actually give us 40. So 120 minus 80 giving us 40. And therefore the total hours used in terms of a fraction therefore will be 80 over 120. And then for unused, 40 out of 120. So this can still be simplified further because it's the values here within are in terms of they are within the tens and they are all odd even numbers. So therefore we can actually divide this everything here first by 10. So if we divide everything here first by 10, we're gonna get how much? So we're gonna get 8 over 12, and 8 over 12 can still be simplified. So we're gonna get 8 over 12. So I'm just not gonna put a divide because it's gonna bring the date back again. So it's gonna be 8 over 12. So once we have 8 over 12, we can still simplify this and divide everything by 2. So when we divide everything by 2, from there we'll be able to do what? To actually get to see if the fraction can still be simplified going further. So therefore we're gonna go and have 8 divided by 4, which is gonna give us 2 over, and then we said divide by 12, 12 divided by 4, which is gonna give us 3. So therefore the fraction at the end will be 2 out of 3 for used time. So will be 2 out of 3 for used time. And then the fraction again for this side will also be divided by 10. Therefore, we're going to have 4 2 out of 12. And once we have 4 out of 12, okay, let me just do this for all of these so that they don't give me a date, and I just say these are just numbers. So that will be out of 12. 4 out of 12 will give us 0.67, and 2 out of 3 will equal to 0. So these are all transferred to they are changed back to decimal due to that. And then on this side we said we're going to have 4 out of 12. So 4 out of 12 will be 0.33, and this is if we're turning into percentage, that will be 33% of unused hours. And therefore 4 out of 12 can be simplified to 1 out of 3, which we're gonna divide 4 by 4. Dividing 4 by 4, that will give us 1. Dividing 12 by 4, that's gonna give us 3. So that will give us 0.33. So this is all this represented in fractions. So this will be 1 out of 3. So if I come to this one and put equal sign, you will still see that we're gonna get the same value as this. So this is not rounded off to 2 decimals. So if I round it off to 2 decimals, so you're gonna see it's gonna come back to 0.67. So you can either work with minutes or you can either work with hours. So that's how you can work around this fraction. So in my method, I will say that work in minutes, which is much easier and simple. Because if you're trying to convert to hours, you'll get up also getting confused with what is there. So you're gonna say available, and you're gonna say used, and then you're gonna have unused. So in terms of available, we're gonna go and say, okay, let's take a look at available. Available, we've got 120 minutes, and then here we've used 80 minutes. Here we've used we didn't use 40 minutes, so meaning that the fraction for time completed or session completed, it's 80 over 120, and then for the other side, it's actually 40 over 120. So therefore, you can write that as a fraction. Okay, mind this one is converting into a fraction as long as you understand. So this one ended up giving us a value of 2 out of 3, and this one giving us a value of 1 out of 3. And if you add those two together, they will give you 1, which is going to be equivalent to the total hours that we have. So calculate the total amount the company would pay for a full hour session, for a full 2-hour session. So number B, so this was number A. So in terms of number B is just asking you to add all the amount that the company is going to incur for 2-hour session. So this is going to incur 1,000 for the photographer. It's going to incur 250 for each model. So therefore in total it's going to be 250 each per model. So that is going to be equaling to 1,250 per for all the models for 2 hours. So therefore the total amount that the company will incur will equal to 1,000 plus for the cameraman plus the total that they paid for all the models, which is gonna give us a total of this amount, which is 2,000. So which is equal to 2,250. So the total amount that the company will pay for 2-hour session is 2,250. And then for number 3, it says that how much money will they lose due to load shedding. So if there was load shedding and they ended the session at 1 hour 20 minutes, so 1 hour 20 minutes is equivalent to 80 minutes. So meaning that they didn't use the 20 minutes to make sure that they end up the session at 2 hours due to load shedding. So it says how much money will they lose due to load shedding. So they've lost money that they've paid for that 40 minutes. So this is the way that I'm going to explain it. So they've used the money for 80 minutes that they've paid for, plus they didn't use the one for 40 minutes. So that 40 minutes, we said the ratio for that was 40 over 120, which is 0.33. So meaning that if we say 0.33 multiplied by the total amount, that they paid for, is to go and say that for all the amount that they've paid for, 2,250 for 2-hour session, they didn't use 40 minutes of that 2-hour session. So therefore the amount that is equivalent for that 40-minute session will be equals to 2,250 multiplied by the 40 minutes that they didn't use out of the 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. So therefore the total amount that the company will actually lose will be 750 rand. So the company have lost 750 rands for the 40 minutes remaining, which they didn't use due to load shedding. So that is in terms of number 6. So compare your answers to all of these and see if they add up. If not add up, therefore please revise. And then in terms of number A, it says that a reporter drives 253 kilometers from his office to interview a prominent businesswoman in a neighboring town. His car can drive 200 kilometers on a 9 liter of petrol. So therefore, this guy is going outside of his town to interview a businesswoman, and the distance is 253 kilometers to the interviewee's town where they're gonna meet. And then but his car can only travel 200 kilometers on 9 liter fuel. So the question is, how many liters of fuel will he need to buy to get to the interviewer and back to his office? Round your answer off to the nearest liter. So your final answer should be rounded off to the nearest liter, not your workings, your final answer. So under this one on number 7, number A, so this is how we're gonna solve this one. So we need first to calculate, either there are two methods that we can use. We can calculate consumption per liter on, we can calculate fuel per each kilometer completed to say that how much does 1 liter covers in terms of the distance that is going to travel, or that his car can travel. Or we can calculate the number of kilometer each liter, or the number of kilometers that his car can travel based on the fuel that he actually had to have in his car. So let's just do that in an explanation through calculation, then it will be much better and easier to understand. So the first method is to use what we call the liters to kilometers to say that how many liters, how much is 1 liter gonna take him for. So therefore, if we're to do that, we're gonna go and say that for the number of liter that his car has divided by the number of kilometers, the answer will be distance per liter, meaning that we're gonna say equals to 9 divided by 200. It's gonna give us 0.45, meaning that 0.45 liters can allow him to travel 1 kilometer. So 0.45 can allow him to travel 1 kilometer. This is the first method, meaning that this is liters over kilometer, to say that 0.45 liters can allow him to travel 1 kilometer, meaning that if he have to travel 253 kilometers, therefore you will actually need the following fuel. You will need, for 1 liter, multiplied by the total kilometers that for per liter, based on kilometer, that is going to per kilometer, therefore multiply by total kilometers, therefore you will need 11.38. And remember, he also have to go back to the interview and back to his office, so therefore this means that it will be 2 times this amount. So it will be 2 times this amount, so meaning that in total you will need the following numbers of liters. So these are liters. So the L will represent the liters. So meaning that he will need the following liters. So for him to go to the interview and back to his office, he will need 22,73 liters, and if you round this off, will be 23 liters. So he will actually need 23 liters to his office. So the other method that you can use, so we've calculated the method where we calculated consumption per kilometer to say that for each and every kilometer that is going to travel, his car will consume 0,045, which is the liters divided by the kilometers his car can travel. So the other method is to actually calculate how much per kilometers does it take for his car to actually consume 1 liter. So we know that his car can travel 200 kilometers, but for each liter, how many kilometers is it traveling for? So that will be 200 divided by 9. So that will be equal to 22,22, meaning that his car can travel 22,22 kilometers. This is 22,22 kilometers per liter. So meaning that this is how much his car can travel over a liter of petrol. So therefore, if this is how much his car can travel over a liter of petrol, therefore this guy is going to travel 253, sorry, meaning that it's going to be traveling 253, and this is how much he can travel per kilometer. So the best way to calculate this is to go and say, let's compare his kilometers that is going to travel against the one that his car can travel over 9 kilometers. So that will be equals to 253 to 200. So meaning that the kilometer that is going to travel will be 265 more than what his car could travel over 9 kilometers. So therefore, if his car can travel 9 kilometers with 200 liters, so therefore in total, therefore this guy will need 9 liters multiplied by the distance above the ones that is going to travel. So therefore, okay, I put an L here. So it will still give us the same value to say that based on the 200 kilometer that is going to travel, is going to travel 53 extra kilometer. This 53 extra kilometer is equivalent to 0,265. So therefore, based on the 200 kilometer that is going to travel, is going to travel 1,265 above his range of fuel of 9 kilometers. So therefore, multiplied by the range of kilometer, you will actually need 11,38. So you can choose which method you want, or you can apply this method to say that for each and every kilometer is gonna need for each and every liter of 0.45 will allow him to travel 1 kilometer will actually require 0.45 of liter, so which is already in terms of kilometers. So you can either use the other method or this method. So whichever you prefer, but your final answer have to come back to 23. You have to apply the same basic principle that we did, which is now working with fraction and ratio and portion. So this is ratios and portion and proportion to say that based on the 9 kilometer, you can only travel 200. And this time he wants to travel 253. So my other method was to say that let's calculate how much is the kilometers that he wants to travel bigger than compared to the ones that his car can travel. So therefore it's this divide by this. This will give you in terms of how much bigger his distance will be based on his car fuel distance. So that will be 1,236 1,236 if I still remember correct, which is above by 0,26. The decimal represents the amount that is above. If it is lower, therefore you can calculate it through the reverse way. Therefore you will be able to calculate the amount and redo the calculation. Then from there it says that the cost of fuel is 28 rand per liter. What is the expected cost for this trip? So in terms of B, it's just gonna be 23 multiplied by the new cost of fuel. Therefore this will give you a new amount, so it's equals to 23 multiplied by 28. So meaning that this guy, it will cost him 644 rand to actually go and come back for his total trip. So that is it in terms of number 7. And then in terms of number 8, so I'm just gonna create a space for 8 and then we do number 8. Make sure you just post the video where you need it and then you can see the solution. We're also gonna send the solution separately. I will request that the solution also be sent separate. So for number 8, it says that 3 business partner X, Y, and Z invested 13,000, 22,000, 55,000 respectively in a business during the first year, and the business makes a profit of 285,000. Determine how much profit each partner would receive. So based on this question, we actually have to determine the profit, how they are going to share the profit. So for them to be able to share the profit based on their contribution, so they're going to share profit based on their contribution of on the total base of their contribution. So what we're going to do is under this question is to say that if the company make a profit of 285, so for fair and equally shared this amount, we'll have to use each investor's contribution so that we do not give someone more than what they've contributed. To say that if partner X contributed 13,000 and partner Z contributed 45,000 and we give them an equal share of profit, it won't be fair for someone or for partner Z who actually invested more than partner A receiving same amount of profit, whereas he spent more money trying to get this profit. So it won't be fair for them. So therefore each one should get his share of profit based on his contribution. So under this activity, you can go and say that I'm just going to try to move it here so that it becomes under the same level as the question. So we're going to go and say we've got X, we've got Y, and we've got Z. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do this so that everything is in the middle. So we're saying this guy contributed 13,000, this one contributed 22,000, this one contributed 45,000, and the profit, it's actually 285,000. So these are the guys' contribution. So but another factor that we also need to consider is the total amount of contribution made to the company. So the total contribution made to the company. So the total contribution made to the company will be equals to 13,000 plus 22,000 plus 45,000. So therefore the total contribution is 80,000. So if we were to put this as a ratio, we'll say this guy is on the share of profit, you will have to get 13. If the profit was to be 80,000, this guy will have a share of 13,000, and this guy will have a share of 22,000, and this guy will have a share of 45,000 based on their contribution. But this time the profit is 285,000, which is above what they contributed. So to calculate the ratio, we will have to calculate the ratio of how they are going to share the profit, which is going to be 13,000 divided by 80,000, which is the total amount of contribution for this guy. So therefore this will be the amount. So the share of profit from this guy will be the following, will be 16%. And then so we're gonna calculate, you can calculate this as a fraction to say 13 out of 80 and then simplify it to be 13 over 80, and then this will be 22 over 80, this will be 45 over 80 because all values are within 1000. So therefore you can divide both by 1000 to get a simplified division of 45 over 80, which this can still be simplified furthermore. But instead of doing that, you can convert this into a fraction of percentage to say that how much did each guy actually get to contribute as a percentage of the total amount contributed. So this one contributed the following as a percentage. So he contributed 16%, and therefore this one I'm gonna say 22 over 80. This guy contributed 28%, and therefore this guy contributed 56%. So if we go and use our financial calculators or our calculator and say 16 plus 28 plus 56, these have to add up to 100%. So these are the guys contribution towards the company. This one contributed 16%, 28%, 56% based on the total contribution of 80,000 that they contributed. So therefore also profit will be shared based on their contribution, meaning that partner X will receive 16% of this amount. So we'll receive 16% of 285, which will be 446,312. And therefore, partner Y will receive 28% of the profit generated based on his contribution. That will be 78,375. And partner Z will receive 56% based on his contribution towards the company. That would lead him to receiving 160,312, which all of these amounts should add back to the same amount that we have up there as 285. So if we add all of them, they have to come back to 285. And then the other question is to say that a company produced poster at 12,000 at 1,255 each and sells them for 4,100 each. So calculate their markup percentage. So markup percentage is to calculate how much did we add on top of the cost price to get the selling price, which is going to be our profit margin. So therefore we call it a markup percentage. So a markup percentage for this activity will be calculated in the following manner. Also this you can use two methods, but only for markup percentage. You can go and say the amount that you as your selling price minus the amount this which is your cost. All of this will still be divided by 4,100. Let me just do this here, minus 1,255. So all of this, so this will be your answer, 4,100 divided by 1,000, and therefore whatever answer you get, you multiply it by 100. So that will give you your markup percentage. So under this case, it will be as follows: 4,100 open brackets 4,100 minus 1,255 divide by 4,100. This will all be multiplied by 100 so that we can get the markup percentage. So that will be 69%. So the markup percentage will be 69%. So meaning that they added 69% of this same amount so that they can get to a profit of, or to a max selling price of 1,400. Meaning that they are going to generate profit over this item of 69%, a gross profit of 69%. So another method to calculate this that I wanted to show you is just to go and say that let's calculate the value of the markup towards the selling price. To say that the value of the markup is 1,000, or the value of cost is 1,255, and the selling price is 4,100. So let's calculate the percentage value of this against the selling price. So it will be equals to 1,250 over 4,100. So therefore this will be 0.30%. So it's equivalent to 30%. So if we to minus this over 100%, if we go and say this minus 100, so therefore it's to say it's the same as saying 1 minus this value. So therefore we're actually gonna get that 69. So if this 69, I was to put it into percentage format, so that will be 69%. Same applies to this, so we're gonna get the same value. So this is another method that you can actually get to apply. And then on this one, it says that a bookstore normally order 1,000 books for 18,000 they receive 30,000 bulk discount on purchase more than 500, and calculate the total cost when they purchase 1,500 books. So if the bulk discount of 30% applies. So this is similar to the activity that we performed on our previous lesson, which is lesson number 9. So I'm just gonna do it with you guys. So number 10, it's as follows. For every 500 books that we buy above 500, we're gonna receive 30%. And say books normally orders 1,000 notebooks for 18,000, and then it says that they receive 30% bulk discount on purchase of more than 500. So calculate the total cost when they purchase 1,500 books if the bulk discount of 30% applies. Okay, so based on this question, we're going to apply the same principle, but I've just discovered something on the question that this is not similar to the questions that we covered. So this one, it's a bit different and way too advanced for us to calculate, because the calculation method that we actually have to use here will be totally different. So therefore, I'm gonna rechange the question to suit what we covered in class, and then we're gonna apply it from there. So this they say they receive 30% for more than 1,000 books. So it's supposed to say 1,000 books, not 500 books. So 1,000 books, not 500. So meaning that if we buy 1,000 books, we're gonna buy notebooks, we're gonna buy them for 18,000. So meaning that each notebook will be equals to 18,000 divided by 1,000. So therefore each notebook it's costing us 18 rand notebook. So it's gonna cost us 18 rand. So meaning that for each and every notebook that is above 1,000, we're gonna receive 30% discount. So please assume that this is for 1,000, because if I was to do the correct division for this, you're gonna get confused. The statement is still 100% correct, but it is not according to the standard that I show you guys or I taught you on lesson 9. So therefore I'll have to change it to lesson 9 standard, which is what you're gonna be assessed on. So I'm still gonna review this if there is any mistake like this on your assessment, because to reverse this backwards, because you'll have to calculate first and reverse this backwards to calculate the cost price of a notebook before discount, using a reverse methodology, which I believe we didn't teach that you guys, which it's already way advanced to you. So that's why I'm saying that let's change this to 1,000 books, because I just noticed now that there is an error to say that they received 30% bulk on purchase of more than 1,000. So since they were doing purchase of 1,000 normally, they were not receiving discount, which is the meaning that each textbook was each notebook was 1,000. So if we go and say this multiplied by this, so it will give us 18,000, which is of the books that we actually bought. But this time if we're going to buy more than 1,500, more than 1,000, the extra 500 books will receive a discount, meaning that under this case we are going to say equals to, for discount is going to be 18% multiplied by 30%. So this will give us 5 rand, not in percentage. So this is not supposed to give us that. So I'm just gonna say 0.3. Okay, this is already giving me in percentage. So let me just do it this side. It's equals to 18 multiplied by. So it's equal to 5 rand 40 cents. So that will be the discount. So therefore the total new price after the discount is included will be equals to 18 rand minus this value. So therefore the total new price will be 12 rand 60. So meaning that for each and every book that is above 500, it will be equals to 12 rand 60 multiplied by 500, which is books above. So that's 6,300. So therefore for the 1,000 we're gonna have 18,000. For the ones above, which is gonna be 500, we're gonna be paying 12 rand 60. So therefore the total cost of the new book of the 1500 book including discount will be 18,000 plus the 6,300, giving us 24,300. So please ignore this, because if we're to do this, we're going to calculate by saying that to get 18,000, this is how we're going to calculate this. We're going to say to get 18,000, it was going to be 1 minus the books without 50% of the books do not have discount, and then plus one of the books that have got 50% discount, or that have got discount, and the discount rate is actually equals to 30%. So it's a long mathematic equation, so that's why I don't want us to actually do that, because to get this 18,000, we have got textbooks that will have no discount of that, which equaling to 50% of this, and then we also have got another textbook that will have received 50% of that, and then from there to get us to the cost actually of one notebook before discount. So that will be a very long question, a long one. So that's why I'm saying this will be the end of this activity. So just why I change it to 1000. So if you have got any question regarding this activity, do not hesitate to contact me. Just let me know, and then from there I'll be able to assist you. So that will be the end of our activity. Check how much he scored. If he scored less than 60%, I'm going to reduce the mark to say that if he scored less than 60 or 70, let me say 70. If he scored less than 70, practice more, because your assessment will be at least something similar to this, but at least a bit 2 times harder than this, so that we get to test your understanding. We want to test your understanding based on the exact same thing, because that will no longer be testing your knowledge and application, but a different thing. So please make sure that you understand this concept very much better. Then from there we'll actually be able to assist you if you do not manage to score more than 70%. But if you scored more than 70%, then you are sorted. How do you calculate you scored more than 70%? This was out of 50, so you're gonna go and say I scored 35 out of 50. 35 out of 50, that's 70%. But if you scored anything less than 35 marks out of 50,